Virtual Radio Access Network, or vRAN, capabilities have evolved quickly to become a very real option for mobile operators as they roll out their 5G networks. So what's the current state of play with vRAN? I'm talking today with a group of industry experts who are here to discuss the myths versus the realities of vRAN, to provide an update on supply chain developments and explain how the industry can learn from early successes. So let's meet our industry experts. They are Cristina Rodriguez, VP Intel Wireless Access Network Division at Intel; Klaus Pedersen, Vice President of Communication Technology Group at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise; Petra Ledl, VP Head of Network Trials and Integration Lab at Deutsche Telekom; and Anil Bandari, VP Product Management at Altiostar. Welcome everybody. So let's get started today with a view from a major network operator, Deutsche Telekom. So Petra, how long ago did Deutsche Telekom decide to make vRAN part of its mobile network plans, and what drove that decision?
Thank you for this question. Yes, I would say, of course, vRAN discussion is there for a very long time, but we have started as Deutsche Telekom to put much more effort into it somewhere around 2018, and this is where also Oran Alliance has started, and this gives a good proposition because hardware and software decoupling discussion itself, together with architecture and interfaces specification, has provided a good foundation for that type of decision, and especially providing a perspective towards ecosystem flexibility and overall TCO benefits that is expected. From the ecosystem perspective, I would mention really that in the past, all the big RAN vendors, they put the RAN software on top of a classical bare metal solution. And with vRAN, we see it critical for the ecosystem diversification because the new RAN vendors won't develop their own bare metal classical solution. So they therefore really require COTS solution, which is provided with vRAN. On the flexibility side of things, vRAN is an approach towards software-driven telco, and that's what we believe in a lot. And it provides a benefit of faster introduction of new RAN features in this case. Because if you look at, again, in the past design of algorithms and related baseband chip, it takes a lot of time. And here with vRAN and decoupling hardware and software development cycle, this we believe will foster innovation and faster time to market with these new capabilities. And as mentioned, the third perspective, which is overall TCO benefit, usage of COTS-based hardware, adopting automation tools for lifecycle management and operational efficiency. This altogether should reduce the total TCO for RAN solutions, and that's what really drives us in investing into that.
Now, the number of operators adding vRAN to their network seems to have hit an inflection point now that early challenges have been overcome. Cristina, what's the reason for this?
Well, a lot of groundwork, let's start there, a lot of groundwork that was led early on in this journey, this virtualization journey. You know, we have been on it for almost a decade now, first at the core and then now extending it to the RAN. So a lot of learning through the years. The industry have worked very hard, put a lot of efforts and investment in building the virtual network functions and now the cloud native network functions that we need to build the virtualized RAN. And Intel, working together with the industry, has also put a lot of effort in having the right roadmap, the right silicon optimized for the workload, the right software, the servers, the operating system, the integration pieces, the orchestration, have all the pieces that we need to build this again virtualized network of today and of the future. So we have gone. There've been many years where we have gone through proof of concept, working with our partners with the ecosystem, proof of concept, labs, trials, and now we're seeing the commercial deployment at a scale. We're seeing the results, the success from Rakuten. We're seeing what Verizon is doing right now in the US. We're seeing what Deutsche Telekom and other European operators are set to do in Europe. So it's happening. A lot of definitely an inflection point. There's no way back. We're very happy with the success.
And Anil, what do you think is driving the increasing traction for vRAN?
I mean, I agree with what Christina said. There is a lot of work that has been done by various partners in the ecosystem over the last few years. And as a result, now the vRAN offerings are mature and carrier grade. And additionally, now there are at-scale commercial deployments of vRAN in various parts of the world. And this has also clearly demonstrated the maturity of the vRAN ecosystem and solutions, as well as clearly demonstrated the benefits of the open vRAN. And this is giving confidence to the other leading operators in the world to adopt open virtualized RAN for their network modernization.
Okay, so we've spoken about the industry momentum in this space. Klaus, where is the market today with respect to the adoption of vRAN?
Thanks, Ray. So yeah, the market is moving very fast. I mean, at the beginning of the market, we really saw a lot of co-development almost with our large customers, typically customers that had significant internal R&D capability, where we were co-designing with partners, the customers, finding out how to overcome some of the operational issues, etc., and get ready for deployment, which is now happening. We are starting to see a second wave, and I think that's reflected also in what we see from analysts and other industry insight we get, that we are moving to a period now where customers that are less able to or willing to invest in the development itself and more want to see a product-like deployment are starting to engage. And I think that's really encouraging, because that means that the ecosystem is starting to mature and we are starting to see deployment at scale also in smaller operators. So I think that's very positive.
Okay, thank you, Klaus. Anil, over to you now. What key factors are driving the quick adoption of commercialized vRAN software?
I think I would answer this in two parts. First one is the strategic factor, I would say. So what is happening is that if you look at the growth trends, the mobile networks are evolving from serving human-centric communication to machine-centric communication. So machine-centric communication is going to be the growth engine for the operators. And machine-centric communication basically would involve IoT devices, and these devices would be mostly deployed by the enterprises. So operators have to now pivot in the direction of serving these enterprises, and they will have to build their networks based on the concepts of flexibility, resiliency, and automation. And all this is possible only through a virtual RAN network. So this is the strategic, I would say, driver. And then tactically, I would say that with vRAN, you softwareize the radio access network, and this brings all the benefits of IT operations model to the operators, and additionally bring faster innovation velocity, avoidance of forklift upgrades, and data center economics. And so eventually this helps operators reduce their TCO.
Okay, thanks, Anil. And Christina, what are the key factors in your view that's driving the quick adoption of commercialized vRAN?
there was a defining moment. The introduction of FlexRAN in the industry was a defining moment. Having that software reference implementation of the layer 1 workload. Today, we have more than 100 licenses of FlexRAN software, and this is a very good starting point. You start with it, you can take pieces, you can take the whole thing, and then you can build and bring your own innovation and differentiation in top of that.
Okay, thank you, Christina. And Petra, are there any new challenges hindering the adoption of vRAN at the moment?
No, here I would mention 3 areas in principle. One would be around performance and efficiency, because this is the key aspect for tier 1 operators deploying radio access networks. And as disaggregated vRAN is coming as part of the 5G deployments now, so the challenge here for vRAN is that we have a very, very complex and high workload scenarios. For example, 5G massive MIMO that need to be resolved, and also to get feature richness and feature parity with today's closed solutions. So that would be one. The second is that, of course, the huge benefit of vRAN is that it is enabling competition on horizontal layers, and providing operators more power in here. But it is also creating a problem of complex interoperability scenarios and managing the integration costs of those. So this leads to a different model compared to what we see today, and also operators need to adopt together with industry. And the third area was mentioned is brownfield operators, in particular. For them, the coexistence of the new disaggregated vRAN with the legacy solution, this is an area where we also need to find an efficient solution, and having industry community here that would be also asked to focus on these areas.
Okay, thank you, Petra. And Christina, are you seeing any new challenges that are hindering the adoption of vRAN?
I really like how Peter puts it. Yes, of course, there are challenges. This is something new. This is a new way to do things in a complex segment. But we have come a long way, and we have put away one after another challenge. We went from narrowband to massive MIMO, greenfield to brownfield. So a lot of tremendous progress there. I would mention, for example, one of the things that we're working very hard on it is to continue evolving our technology and our solution. We just recently in April, we launched our newest 3rd generation of Intel Xeon scalable processor. And with that, what we're showing is that we can double the throughput within the same power envelope for massive MIMO, 3 by 100 megahertz, 64T, 64R. So class is industry class kind of deployment.
Okay, thank you, Christina. And Anil, are you seeing any new challenges that are hindering vRAN's adoption?
Sure. So I think I would first want to comment regarding massive MIMO. And what I would like to highlight is that Altiostar has successfully integrated its vRAN software with massive MIMO panel from NEC, and the same is commercially deployed. Then, I overall, as far as ecosystem is concerned, I would like to highlight that there has been considerable progress in the Open RAN ecosystem in last 1.5 years. When we started our journey, there were hardly 2 radio hardware partners. Today we have 10 plus radio partners. the one of the key benefits I want to highlight here is it seems like a challenge, but it's a benefit is that with the open architecture, multiple vendors are now participating in the ecosystem, and as a result, we are all pooling our respective R&Ds together, and that is increasing actually the velocity of integration. We understand operator concerns around integration, and what we have done is that we have developed several blueprints that can be deployed by the operator, so they can buy the hardware directly using these blueprints, and they can be assured of end-to-end performance. And even for the scenarios where operators may choose to deploy a different hardware which is not covered by the blueprint, we have developed strong processes to validate that hardware with our software quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. The ecosystem is growing, and an important part of the ecosystem are the industry organizations that are helping to develop the specifications. So how have the industry consortia assisted with the adoption and deployment of vRAN? Anil, what are your views here?
So 3GPP has done a great work in terms of defining standards for various generations of cellular networks. vRAN Alliance that was founded by leading operators and with participation from network equipment providers, it has been doing complementary work by developing additional interfaces. For example, vRAN Alliance has defined standards-based interface between baseband and radio. Similarly, they are defining standards-based interfaces between the baseband and the management platforms. And these interfaces have not been defined by 3GPP. Now, the standardization of these interfaces, especially between the hardware and software, is a game changer for the industry, because this has now allowed participation from various smaller companies on the hardware side. And also it has allowed baseband software to be developed fully as a software component running on COTS hardware, leading to the virtualization and cloud native deployments. There's a very good advantage and very good work being done by vRAN Alliance. Then TIP has been doing work in terms of developing reference architectures so TIP has helped develop reference architectures for RUs and for DUs. Other areas where standards groups and consortiums are helping are in terms of the interoperability. They are organizing these plug fests for interoperability, and also setting up labs for carrying out these some of these interoperability tests.
Okay, thanks, Anil. And Petra, what's your view on the impact of the industry consortia and the work that they're doing?
No, absolutely. I want to second what Anil mentioned. So we rely on global industry alignment and global specification and standardization alliances, and that's what we also very much support. I would highlight in the context of vRAN and disaggregated RAN the importance of really interoperability profiles and certification related specification. Because as really for us as service providers, this is one of the big transformational aspects, moving away from getting completely integrated solutions to as mentioned, more complex solutions, getting from multiple vendors. And in this context, being able to effectively integrate and validate the solutions that we are getting. The area where we invest a lot is really deciding which integration and verification tasks we will need to control and invest into, and they're also relying on the interoperability and certification profiles, framework, and processes. That would be an area how we can manage the integration cost and efficiency.
So industry collaboration is obviously very important for the development of vRAN. Christina, what types of partnerships have been established that are paying dividends for industry adoptions?
Partnerships are super important, right? I always say that this effort, this virtualization journey is an industry effort. And, there's going to be many components delivered from different vendors with different functionality. And that's important that we work together. And it's important that we collaborate and establish those partnerships. We are very happy to be working with a very strong, very vibrant ecosystem. Right now, for example, we have what we call Intel Network Builders that have more than 400 members and that provide that base known configuration, those software and hardware stack that can be a big benefit from the time to market point of view. We also, I mentioned FlexRAN before, we also have our FlexRAN software with more than 100 licensees. We do a lot of pre-integration working with different partners, so that's very important too. We have recently, by the way, we announced the extension of our Intel Select solution to include virtualized RAN, a vRAN configuration, again, to have that base known configuration, that software and hardware stack. And as part of that, extending that, HPE and Intel made a collaboration on coming up with what we're calling verified reference configuration for vRAN, that I think is going to be very useful tool for the industry.
Okay, thanks. And Klaus, what kind of partnerships do you see helping the adoption of vRAN?
Well, from an HPE perspective, partnerships are critical in several ways. But if we step back a little bit, what's actually going on in vRAN and Open RAN is we are seeing a disaggregation of what used to be a single vendor solution. So that means when our customers deploy, they're inherently insourcing some risk in terms of the integration. So HPE is investing very heavily in our partnerships in order to help reduce that risk, because of course some of it will remain. But when we look at the integration of the elements that make up the infrastructure, not just the hardware, but also the integration of the container layer, etc., we go a long way to test and characterize and certify that with partners in the software domain as well. So that sort of gives, if you will, a layer of the solution that we believe is ready for deployment. And then partnerships with the actual application providers, securing OSS, integration, etc., is a second element where we work with the partners that provide those elements. But that's typically more in the context of a customer-specific deal, because the customer make those choices, and it's different from deal to deal how we engage. But overall, the notion of establishing proven deployable blueprints that can be relied on by customers that do not want to get into the depth of the engineering is a critical part. And we do that not just by engineering in our own labs, but engineering with customers, partners, and of course, participation in standards bodies.
Yeah, great points there, Klaus. Now, let's come back to Petra now. What kind of services are being offered with vRAN on the edge of the network with 5G?
Now, I think from our perspective, let me start with a little bit of history again. I think when we started 5G in Deutsche Telekom, we really said that 5G needs to be more than just another air interface, and we were envisioning 5G to be a platform that is able to support really large diversity of application and services, supporting not only large bandwidths but also latency critical applications, and enable latency critical applications to be supported on the network. Now with vRAN, we are first of all getting the largely distributed compute infrastructure with really data center type of solutions going closer to the customers, to the edge of the network. And that is really also a foundation to enable latency critical applications. And with hardware software decoupling and all the flexibility that also vRAN is bringing, we can turn the network to that platform with slicing capability, being able to program the infrastructure for the needs of different applications. So I think this is going right in the direction of that vision of network platform supporting variety of different services.
Okay, thank you. And Anil, what kind of services are you seeing coming from the service providers that have vRAN?
I think in addition to what Peter said, vRAN with its deployment flexibility and the fact that the baseband can be hosted on the existing IT infrastructure makes it an attractive choice for enterprise deployments. So we believe that vRAN is going to be the RAN solution of choice for the enterprises. And another area that I would like to highlight is that vRAN provides the ability to now offer RAN as a service. So we believe that many players will start offering vRAN as a service using a cloud-hosted deployment model.
Okay, thank you. Now, Klaus, what are some of the industry proof points that will accelerate vRAN adoption?
Well, that's an interesting question in the sense that I think the proof points that the technology actually works are there now. As Christine was saying earlier, we are starting to see live deployments. So where we are with the industry now is we have to establish the roadmaps that prove to the industry that this is the right way forward to really solve the issues that are ahead when we are starting to look at mid-band deployments, we are starting to look at densification, we are starting to look at putting value-added services and the same infrastructure. So we have to create confidence in the industry that we are not only replacing a single vendor technology or single vendor solutions with more open solutions, we are also creating a platform that will really carry 5G forward to deliver on the promise that it has in terms of new applications, new revenue sources and streams for our customers, the carriers. So I think apart from just getting things into deployment, getting the roadmaps established is really show how that innovation is going to bring down cost and enable new services in the long term. It's probably one of the more critical things to get going on.
Okay, great. So lots of excellent insights today. Let's close off today's discussion by getting some overviews. What else does the industry need to learn about vRAN to speed the acceleration of deployments? Let's start with you, Christina.
Great question. So we need to, number one, we need to continue applying the learnings, right? We're going now through deployments. We have to continue applying the learnings that come from that. We need to continue doing more of pre-integration, working together ecosystem to work on having pre-integrated solutions and that can be brought up to the market sooner. A commercial virtual RAN configurations and software availability. That's important too. Also, the training of the operations team on the new way to do things, right? Similarly, the training of the teams and the evolution of the solution in a cloud native environment. All this has to continue evolving, and we continue applying learnings to it. And then from there is, well, what else? What other innovation we can bring to do this even better and to add differentiated features, especially for the future.
Okay, thank you. And Neil, what does the industry need to learn more about in terms of vRAN?
I think industry needs to be aware that vRAN deployments are happening at scale and serving thousands of sites. Secondly, it is also important for industry to understand that the performance that is being delivered by these vRAN deployments, including spectral efficiency, etc., is at par or in some cases even better than the traditional networks. So what I just want to reiterate is that operators can go with vRAN deployments and achieve not only very good performance, but they can also achieve numerous additional benefits that are available only through cloud-centric solutions.
Okay, thank you. And Klaus, what do you think is the big learning from vRAN that you'd like to see the industry have?
Well, obviously, I agree with everything that was already said on this topic, and I can refer back to some of the things I said before. But I think one thing we have not discussed is how do we get the industry to agree on, if you will, the layering? What are the macro level components that should come from individual sources? We tend to sometimes disaggregate a little too far. We are always looking at what's the latest, fastest individual component that can participate in a solution. And if we do that every time we want to go into a deployment, we are actually introducing too much risk. So I think we need to lay out roadmaps that create stability, and we sort of know, okay, here's with this generation of processors, here the set of accelerators that make sense, etc. And for adopting new technology, we may wait for the next generation of processor to come along as well. It's not always about optimizing every component if you want to optimize the speed of your rollout. And I think we have to find out, as an industry, as an ecosystem, as providing to this industry, how we deliver that kind of stability that's necessary to deploy this critical infrastructure.
Okay, excellent. And finally, Petra, what do you think the industry could learn more about in terms of vRAN to help accelerate adoption?
No, I guess I fully agree with what Christina, Anil, Klaus mentioned. What I would add on top of that is gaining the operational experience. So taking the learning step by step and iterate, and especially in the context of integration and interoperability challenge, how do we optimize the cost and also rightly distribute the tasks and responsibility between component providers, solution providers, and operators, and improving that through gaining operational experience.
That's great. And obviously that operational experience is becoming more and more possible as more and more operators adopt vRAN. Well, it's been great to get this update on developments in the virtual RAN market. Thank you everybody today for your time and for your insights. Thanks very much for joining us.